Hey everybody, you're watching episode 3, season 1 of Business in the Raw. If you're joining us for the first time, or if you're a little confused as to what's going on, here's a solid recap. Janine Payne is a woman who is opening the next chapter of her life, and she wants it to be business. Entrepreneurship is calling. She doesn't know exactly what she wants to do, who she wants to do it for, or how she wants to do it. Good news, everybody, that's my job. We're going to sit down, do a deep discovery of everything that Janine is passionate about, lay it all out on the table, and pick up the pieces that are worth and worthwhile shaping into a viable, sustainable business and brand that Janine can be really, really proud of. This is so much fun for a branding person like me to start from scratch, a totally blank slate, and create something new. Over the course of episode 1 and 2, we've done just that, throwing everything onto the table and picking up those pieces to see what fits in a business model and what is maybe in phase 2 or doesn't come along for the ride at all. Janine has explored many different iterations of business. Should she be a gardening guru? Should she be doing voiceovers? If you already watched episode 2, you'll know that Janine has decided to open a voiceover personality agency in which Black voices can emerge and become the go-to sound for brands, businesses, causes, nonprofits, webinars, commercials, whatever application that requires a voice as bold, beautiful, and absolutely magnetizing like Janine's. She is a force to be reckoned with, and I cannot wait to shape all of this into a big, beautiful, bold business brand. We're going to do that through the art of positioning. Is an exercise that I've been using throughout my business for the last decade, in which I try and answer who are people, what do they need, who is Janine, what is she delivering, and why is she special, different, and one. In this next segment, you'll watch me and 100 TV's Ross brand talk about this. How did it come about? Why is it useful? And how is it applied? And then we'll jump into discovery sessions with me. This is episode 3 and 4, where we're doing the deep discovery to shape that brand. Carving it out of marble, if you will. I'm glad you're here. Now let's go on over to the live stream with Ross Brand and let's see what positioning is all about. And then we'll jump into it with Janine.
Welcome to a special edition of Egos Aside. I'm Ross Brand along with Rebecca Gunter. We are both creators with 100 TV, show hosts, and we have been live streaming all about creating the network, which is going to go live on May 1st, 2023, Monday, May 1st, with our whole lineup of Monday shows. But right now, we are continuing our discussion of positioning and gaining the copy together from different sources, and Rebecca's really running a masterclass on positioning. And so we went through and got some of the initial language together, came up with some positioning statements, narrowed that down into one statement, and now the work continues. So I'll turn it over to Rebecca, and you can fill everybody in on how this works, and then we can go forward with the next steps.
What a setup. You set them up, I knock them out of the park. Okay.
Right.
Good. Thanks for joining me on this sunny Saturday as we're ramping up for the launch of 100 TV Network. And it's been really cool to be able to come to this collaboration with my own unique skill set for helping projects, brands, and entrepreneurs figure out how to talk about themselves, put it in word, articulate it into words. Everyone needs copy. Everyone needs copy that feels on brand and actually works. The job of, any asset that we're putting out there is to pre-sell the thing. So how do we get people kind of like beyond, from converting from curious to raving fan? Generally, that's around how we're presenting that brand. Words, actions, and images. And my job is the word part. I do this work by way of this marketing tool called a positioning statement, and you set it up perfectly. We've done a bunch of discovery around how to write a positioning statement, which essentially answers the who, what, why, where, when, and how of just any endeavor that you're going to embark on, whether it's an email sequence or fully fledged, the internet's new favorite place to go for independent creators and this kind of content.
I
So
got a quick question because we didn't touch upon this last time, and I just want to ask you: can you go through what your formula is and kind of how you came up with that, or where you how
that's a
you
cool
developed
question.
that, so that people have an idea what we're trying to fit the different positioning statements into? What are the elements that go into a Rebecca Gunter positioning statement?
That's an awesome question. What is this, a commercial for me, Ross? I love it. Thank you.
Softball.
That's awesome though, because this is a really if I'm honestly having a conversation with you right now, Ross Brand, my friend and colleague, positioning is something that I really struggle to position. The cobbler's children have no shoes. It is a
Right.
thing you do not know you need, solving a problem you do not know you have.
Hmm.
It's really around articulating these very basic questions that anybody's going to need to know in order to connect with what you're doing. It's essentially giving people and yourself a reason to believe. You can think about it like a North Star that we're
Hmm.
just articulating so that we can drive all of our marketing activities towards those ideas and give you some branded phrases that you can start integrating into your marketing, like weaves like golden threads through your stuff. Hashtags, taglines, just reasons to believe. That's the marketing reason that you do it, but also from a business perspective, it identifies what's your audience, what are they struggling with, how do you solve that problem, why is it uniquely you. So you're essentially, again, kind of positioning yourself in the marketplace. I didn't invent positioning. It's definitely a marketing tool that other people use. I don't always see people add the because only part, which is the like why you do it. And so they handle the mechanics of it, for this type of segment, who needs this thing, and we are this other thing, and we deliver these things, but they don't always integrate the why, which I think is that's the thing that like really does the conversion. That's the thing that builds a fan base. I learned how to do this workshop style from my old branding mentor. For a few years, I had the pleasure and the privilege to work in a brand strategy agency that helped people with exactly this kind of thing of positioning and messaging, and then produced a bunch of marketing assets to go along with it. So as a young copywriter and babe in the woods, I got the pleasure of figuring out how this stuff gets figured out, and it happens workshop style. I'll be like real, RB. I just have a kind of a gift or an
Mhm.
intuition in the listening to be able to digest in essentially 90 minutes or less, coming to the table with like a very blank slate, ask you questions organically, and really try and get to the heart of it. Who are your people? What do they need? Who are you? What are you delivering? And why are you special, different, or the one? And then I think about how could I approach that position from a few different angles. I put three of them together. Usually one's like a little vanilla, one's a little butterscotch, and one's a little avant-garde. And we read all of them and start to kind of triangulate what is the best of the best to create this positioning statement for for the overall brand. And then of course you can use the tool of positioning for anything you do. I've got like a million positioning statements. So we'll have one that's like sponsor facing, we'll have one that's audience facing, we'll have one that's creator facing. If we do, an initiative, I'll be chomping at the bit to do some positioning. It gives you a way to talk about yourself, like as the client, the person being positioned, gives you something to talk about. It gives your team the same idea to get them playing from the same sheet of music, and it gives your like prospects something to believe in. It also sets creatives up for success because the positioning of the brand has already been decided, and then we can all work together towards that unified goal. And today I'm wearing the hat of a copywriter who took our positioning statement and created website copy based on those ideas.
Quick question: is the positioning statement in general an internal document or an external document? And are there any companies that might be well known out there that you've actually been able to see their positioning statement and go, oh, that's a really good one? If you're looking for an example of how it's done right, there's one. Or, I mean, if you would so like to, to open up, maybe there's one that's an example from a big company that you would say, don't do one like that.
Well, those are excellent questions. I can answer the first one, and the second one I'm going to kind of struggle with.
Mm.
The first one is this is an internal thing. Thank you for asking. I always forget to tell people this is internal. It's an internal thing. The
Except, of
reason,
course, if we're putting it on video and into shows.
well, I frame the work as internal because once you start thinking about who you're going to offend, who you're going to exclude, who's going to be turned off by what you're doing, then you start to filter it for yourself,
Right.
and it becomes less true, less authentic, less real.
So you
So
don't
as
realize what your competitive advantage is if you're trying not to say anything that might make a competitor feel uncomfortable or might
or
seem a little
or
more
it,
bragging or what have you.
not I don't really worry about I honestly don't worry about the competition at all, which is why I can't answer the second question as effectively as maybe you'd want me to, because I really intentionally by design come to the work from a blank slate. It's a real tabula rasa. I intentionally don't do any research on your company, what other people are doing, the industry. In fact, I want to keep my blinders on so that I'm not influenced by what other people are saying and how other people are doing it. I want it to be truly unique, 100% genuine. And so I kind of keep my head down to do the work so I can do a very clean interpretation in co-creation with the client or with, a cross-section of the team or whatever. So I don't know how other people are doing it out there badly, but I can tell you what my processes work very, very well. And I know it works well because I see elements of a positioning statement for work I've done with clients a year, 2 years after we've stopped, after we've all moved on and done other things, done other contracts. I still see positioning phrases and branded copy
Right.
showing up in their marketing today. So everything has like a lot of legs to it. So
Cool.
it's as internal and as external as you want it to be. So if you want to keep some parts under cloak and dagger, feel free to. But you and I are totally transparent.
That's what 100 TV is all about. And so
That's the magic
proceed
of
as
it.
though I wasn't asking any questions.
No, but seriously, from the heart, thanks for always setting up
Mhm.
your interviewee for success. And I struggle with articulating the value of positioning because if you honestly haven't gone through it, it's almost just like it's almost a transformative experience to have a mirror held up to you and the idea that you've been germinating and see it in words, and you can see people kind of like sitting up taller and having
Mhm.
confidence, and I'll hear feedback like the words are true, but I didn't know I didn't know it was all
Right.
like that. That was so fun talking to Ross all about positioning, why we do it, how we do it, and what's the deal. Now, let's get into that discovery with Janine. I'm going to ask her all the questions. Who are your people? What do they need? Who are you? What do you deliver? And why are you special, different, or the one? This will be an organic conversation where I ask Janine so many questions to get to the heart of what she's doing, she wants to do for the world, and what she wants the world to do for herself. Now, let's get into discovery with Janine. Janine Payne, welcome back to the consultants table. I guess Jada Pinkett Smith has the red table. What should we call ours? Do you think?
Ooh, you look great in blue.
Thank you.
Because
That's
of
my
your
color.
beautiful green, blue eyes and the whole look. So I don't know, but I feel something like I don't know why the word homogeny comes to mind, but it's an Irish pool thing. I don't know. Calming seas. I don't know. I'm
Well,
not sure.
welcome back to the Common Seas then.
I love that. Yeah.
We're so excited.
I know.
You've had a few weeks to really ruminate on the work that we've done so far. And
Yeah.
today is such a special day because now we're really going to get into the discovery of your business itself, the actual entity of it, not what are all the moving pieces. All right, so we are doing discovery today for positioning. This is an organic process. It is my signature move in my business with any client I work with. Brings us the foundation that we need to essentially, I think of it like carving a brand out of marble. We've got to figure out where our ins and outs are how does this thing going to emerge from our slab of granite? And that comes through the process of discovery, and it's really a curiosity-led process in which I'm going to ask you just an insane amount of questions. You know how I do. To get to the bottom of it. Who are our people? What do they need? Who are we? What do we deliver? And why are we special, different, or the one? Those are 5 points on like a North Star that we're going to articulate. Once we articulate what those are, then we'll be able to start using that as the brand positioning, which is essentially how we talk about ourselves. A brand is your reputation brought to life in words, actions, and images. In my opinion, everybody defines it differently, but my opinion, it's bringing your reputation to life. And how do we do that? It's in the words we're using. It's in the pictures, the video, the images, the graphics, and it's also in the actions that we do. You certainly know a brand. Let's just use Verizon as an example. You immediately have some ideas about what their actions are and what that means about their brand. Maybe if I say, I don't know what's coming to mind here. What's your favorite brand?
Because Target has its own brand, so not necessarily a product, but when I think about Target, I think about the shopping experience, whether or not I'm online or actually in the store. I expect prompt cleanliness to find what I want, or to quickly know that it's just not available. I know where to look for sales. I know where to look for so there's just something about the efficiency of Target that I really love, and the often cheery staff. And I like the fact that they pay a little bit more above many of the other big box stores.
Nobody wants to be around underpaid, undervalued, cranky employees. And I don't know why companies haven't figured that out yet. Look at you, Walmart. There's no doubt in my mind that Target sat down and by design created an experience, desired customer experience that they want you to feel. So when you say it's clean in there, that means that there is somebody scheduled to do the cleaning, and that's important to them, and that it's prioritized. When you say it's organized, it's come in to do strategic retail design, and that was important to them. So what's important is showing up in their actions, and a brand is the same way. So I'm going to give you the words. That's my specialty of it. How you create, how that comes into fruition, how you execute it is going to be really, really up to you.
Thank you.
Really up to you, and I can't wait to see it all come to the table. So today, I'm just going to ask you a bunch of questions so I can figure out what your positioning is. I will come back to you next session, and we'll have 3 very different positioning statements to explore and try on. We're going to go into the dressing room and we're going to try them on. And by that process of triangulation, we'll really tease and refine until we have the perfect plum that feels oh so you. And then we'll use that positioning to write marketing copy, to attract people to your organization, to essentially give people something to believe in. So in order to know what those things are, I got to go through this process with you.
I'm going with you.
All right, ready? Let's do the thing. Playing with the layout. All right. So again, this is a curiosity-led process, and I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. Who are our people? What do they need? Who are we? What do we deliver? And why are special, different, or the one? Is the direction I'm taking us in this conversation. In the meantime, I'll take copious notes. I have my purple Sharpie here. Shout out to Purple Sharpie.
I've
got your dedicated notebook just for you. And I'm ready to roll. All right. The thing that's special or interesting about you in this business is you can't come to me and say, my clients are like this, because you don't know. We have to do some future casting, as it hasn't really happened. It's happened a little bit. It hasn't really happened. So instead of thinking about, maybe if you'd had a brick and mortar store for 15 years, you'd be able to be like, oh yeah, my customers are generally somewhere between 25 and 35. They live in the neighborhood and they have blah, blah, blah. We don't know any of that. But what we can define are the kind of people that you want to work with, the
Mm.
characteristics that they share, the values that they have, the motivations that they have, their needs or wants from essentially what we're still landing in this voiceover
Mm.
agency or production, like audio production house around that stuff. So who would buy it?
Yeah.
And what are they like? So I have
Yeah.
some thoughts about who would buy it and what they would like, but let's start with you and either wave a magic wand and be like, my perfect, if I worked with no one else, my people would be like this, or based on your experience with folks you've worked with previously, they share these kind of like personality traits or kind of ways of existing.
Got it. Got it. I was asking whether I'm responding to that last statement. And so when I think of the type of client that will want to hire Janine, is a client who may not realize the power necessarily of voice over talent that can help sell their product. And I'll try to describe who they are. They are local, and I'm speaking more local initially because often businesses that are local really don't think that they can either afford or that they need a voice to put on radio or television that can sell their product. Whether or not they are selling real estate or if they're a dentist or whatever, often you get a flyer in the mail, there's a new business that's opening up around the corner or whatever. There is a way to reach customers beyond that flyer, although they are local. So you don't have to be the big, I'm going to say, use the term big box in order to afford to get your name out. So I believe it's people who don't realize that they
Let
can
me ask
benefit
you
from
a
someone like
question.
me.
Why are you going? I'm absolutely just pursuing this line of inquiry to
Mhm.
unpack it. This isn't me saying you're doing it wrong, to be
Yeah.
clear. But why are we going after clients who don't already know the value of voiceover or think of themselves as so small that it doesn't occur to them that they would need it when there's a whole market segment of people out there who know damn the value of a voiceover artist to sell their products and can afford to pay for it? What is it about almost like plebeian entrepreneurs in the media space that's turning you on?
So that's just one category. Certainly, but I'll answer your question. I think because I often look at the woman who is aspiring to be, and so perhaps I see myself in that response, in that answer, right? But I also know that there are clients, yes, of course, healthcare systems. There are, and I believe that I have the voice for, I know that I have the voice for e-learning spaces as well as training videos, also to market in, what is it, XC90. So from the, as they say, rooter to the tutor, from the largest and the biggest and the boldest and the more, those that can really afford it to those who cannot. Yeah, that's how I see that's where I view the strength of my in carrying my voice through and selling a product. So I started with local just because think of myself, and I'm more just community based as well. But I don't think that's all that I can do. And I don't think that's the only type of organization that will want to pay for my services. Not at all. I don't know.
I'm hearing, yeah, I'm hearing like it's for everybody. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, yeah, definitely think so. But I know at the same time, you really can't market to everyone. If I had a preference and where I would want to spend resources, it would be here. It would be at the top, the larger companies. But I heard an ad on the radio the other day. Actually, I hear it every day because I listen to a particular radio station every day. And the ad went, "Hey, they have these customers and they do this home improvement." And they went to one of their customers and said, "Hey, I noticed that you had this particular work done. Why didn't you call us?" And the response was, "Oh, I didn't think you all took small projects." So that stays that's part of what I'm trying to convey here, is that although you may do the large projects, and I know that I'm not only qualified, but I believe that others, when they hear the voice, they'll say, hey, this is who I want selling my product. But also, how do you attract those that don't think that this voice is for them? I don't know.
What would you say to people who don't think this voice is for them?
First, I would want to know, why don't they think the voice is for them? Why? I won't say the voice is for them, but that it's accessible to them. And the benefit, I would want to find
Why
out,
don't you think they know? Why don't you think they know?
why don't they know? Perhaps they're not ready because they're not seeking the greater opportunity to sell their product, business, or whatever it is.
What's holding them back from that?
You said step
What's
back
holding
from
them-
that?
I said, what's holding them back from that?
Perhaps belief in their own product, perhaps preparedness. Are they ready for the level of exposure that perhaps a voice talent can bring? It could be expense, but hope that we can build value and show value. Yeah, I think that's why. I think that's interesting. That's a very interesting question, because I'm not sure, but some of it, somewhere along the line, there's a value restraint. I think there's a value and being an affordability, right? But those people who can't afford it, let's say, just simply can't afford it, or you'll seek for someone else who can get the job done for whatever rate you can afford. So I'm not setting myself up for that adventure where I'm lowering costs just because I want to help meet someone else's budget necessarily. I don't know. That's something to think about. Now, I know I'm going to tool it as we continue to talk about this, because I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's the goal of this session, is it helps you work through some of these unanswered questions. When we start off the gate, your mind is on like, how can I make other business people in my community more impactful and powerful and sustainable and successful by educating them to the power of the voice to sell. So that's where we started. But now it's like everybody, I don't want us to get trapped in the idea that everybody has to pick one single market segment and then alienate everybody else. There are going to be small potatoes people who are interested in what you're doing, who maybe can have to save up 6 months worth of marketing budget to put an ad on the radio. There are going to be medium-sized businesses who recognize that the power of video is exponential, but you still have to look good and sound good. And if they're struggling with the sound good part, here's where you can come in. And there are larger organizations who know immediately that the investment that they've put forth to whatever initiative or program or video series or whatever it is, without the right voice, is not going to hit the right ears in the right way. The right voice that hits the right ears in the right way to motivate either like big sales, big calls to action, or like little micro campaigns within a larger picture. We can address all of those segments at the same time, but we're going to do it by focusing on one, and then recognizing that every kind of like ring on our target, since we're on target today, every ring on our target is also going to be impacted. So maybe at the center of here are, I'm just making this up, I don't know yet, but we'll get there. Maybe in the center here are small businesses who are only now starting to expand their marketing portfolio and to include video and audio, and they need a representative. It's their first or second foray into it. We'll get into what that might look like. But still, little guys are like, oh man, I heard that commercial. That's you? Do you do that for other businesses? That's still relevant. oh, I ran into you at my nonprofit networking group, and we're
Mm,
really looking for a voiceover for our sizzle reel because we've got a fundraising campaign coming up and it's all virtual. Do
mm.
you do that work? You're still relevant to everybody, but we got to pick somebody here in the center. And that's what
Yeah,
I'm
I
encouraging
get it.
us to do here.
Yeah.
Now, maybe it's not at all about the size of their business, the experience. It was maybe more about the kind of work that they're doing. Are they
Mm,
impact organizations? Is it mission driven? Are we talking about entrepreneurs? Are we talking about family business? Are we talking about media companies only? Maybe you're only for media companies and you only want to work with other
mm,
videographers, other podcasters, other audio engineers, and then you become a real like for us, by us type brand
mhm.
known within the industry, but not necessarily public facing. Maybe you only want to be public facing. So those are all some ways we can
Wow.
think about who our people are.
Yeah.
So I want you to take a deep breath and just fantasize. This is your work you're going to be doing for the next 5 years, is a good guess, whether you sell, grow, whatever. Let's give it a 5 year mark. What kind of
Yeah.
people do you want to be working with? Is it scared business owners who don't think they can afford it and then are afraid to make a decision and don't make bold choices? Or do you love them because you want to help them get better at what they're doing? So think about it, put a magic wand in your hand, and just spitball. Who do I want to work with?
Yeah, this is a great process because honestly, let's be honest. I, I'm not trying to, I'm not setting myself up to be a teacher or a guiding someone through the world of and the benefits of voiceover talent and so forth. So it wouldn't I wouldn't aim that center of that target is definitely not those who don't know the value. That's for sure. And so I thank you for shaping the question that way. This is not someone who does not know the value. These are organizations that are perhaps around about social change, but at a high level where they know the value of having a voice to communicate that fits their product, that fits because I don't sound the same. I don't sound like everyone else. And yeah, we can all have passion because there are a lot of voiceover talent that, yeah, I do a lot of social change work. This is what I do. But I'm not trying to just narrowly carve a space into in that social change. So I'm just using that as an example. I'm just throwing that out there. But I'm thinking of organizations who already know, I just used them as an example of organizations who already know the value. So when they hear it and they see it, or in many cases going to be hear it, they'll be like, yep, that's exactly who we need. So yeah, I'm not a teacher. I'm not here to educate. Unfortunately, I think that's the job of many other people. That's the job of someone else. I don't know if I quite answered that.
You did, and you talked yourself right out of where you started at the beginning of this call.
No.
But that's great news because the kind of people
Yeah.
you described when I first asked you the question are going to need a lot of handholding, are
Yeah.
going to need education, are going to need to be like sold the value over and over again. And if your heart was in the place of, I think that the only way that social change can happen is through economic empowerment. And I'm so passionate about that economic empowerment that I'm going to take a look outside my window and see whom I actually know
Mm,
who are not in the digital marketing space and
right.
really lagging behind and it's hurting them. And I was called here on this earth to modernize the way that disenfranchised communities build businesses on a global landscape. That's a
I,
position. I don't think that's you, though.
you know what? I don't think I know it's not me. I can see
Okay.
myself speaking at a conference or something and that conference is designed to pour into organizations that fit that description that you just laid out, of course. And then perhaps on a larger scale, I'm speaking to the benefits, providing examples of the type of business that I've voiced and supported them through my voice. And maybe I don't know the outcomes. I may not have their numbers, but perhaps people can start making connections that way. But I certainly don't think, no, I lost your audio. You're mute. But I see you
Thank
going
you.
like this.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I'm trying, like, I'm a heavy mouth breather, so I try and mute myself so that the audio engineer doesn't have to be like,
Oh, I understand.
thanks for letting me know. Okay,
Yeah.
so that means that segment is no longer the target, but now maybe 4 rings outwards, because there's nothing to say that you speaking at a conference or giving a workshop or walking into the Women's Business Center in Virginia, in DC, and giving a lunch and learn about how to find voiceover artists that match the product or any of the things that you said before. Those people hopefully will grow into the kind of entrepreneur that is the center of your target. And so we value them as a community, and we want to give them value, help them get better, do all the things we talked about. Just that's not who we're focused on. So we're focused on this other segment, which we're starting to get into. You say they already know the value of this kind of work, or towards a voiceover laden, for lack of a better word, video production, or how to give a voice to your project or your words or your copy. How do they know about the value of it? And I want you to think about that, not from everybody knows that voiceover makes a connection. I want you to think about how they actually know the value of voiceover. Is it because they've had videos made before and they know what voiceover can do, and they know the price of not doing it right? They have been out there and they've only been able to find white voiceover artists, and then they have a terrible brand breaking situation, or they're not. Walk me through your ideal customer. How would they know that video is valuable already?
Great question again. I'll tell you what I jotted down was they know their competitors, and they know how their competitors are doing in that space in terms of promotion and what the result is. If you're Verizon versus if you're 2 phone companies against each other, you know what's helping because you're monitoring the data, right? So I think one is that they know who they are in the market. They know where they want to be in the market and know how to get there because they're tracking their competitor. Yeah, that's one thing. And then they also know, who their audience is. But that stands to reason when I think, at least when it comes to the larger organizations who are looking for voiceover, they want to be competitive. And they want to be competitive. Why? Because they want to sell to that audience. So I think
what kind of work have they done to know that? Like, how do they understand the audience? Have they done, I think you said
marketing,
you suggested market research. Excellent. What other ways do
they know from feedback from client or from their base? They also revenue sort their bottom line. That will show competition better than anything. Feedback from there. Also, hey, if many organizations are looking at who they're staffing, who they are able to hire as a result of who's available in the market, but also why can't they get the top brand specialist or whatever? That's because their competitors are competing against them and bringing those folks in. Why? I know there are a number of reasons. Of course, we talked about the market, social media, doing your analysis, and where you are. There's so many tools out there to help them determine. I don't know if I'm missing anything. I'll stop there.
And again, some of it's going to come out when you actually launch this business. We're doing some future casting here, but I think you have quite an attuned intelligence about where your product fits in line with the industry. In these larger organizations, do you know who does the hiring for this kind of work? Are they, is it an internal like VP of marketing, or are they hiring a video company that then has to go find you? So is it a direct thing? Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
For the most part, it's their communications or marketing department, and they may not be doing the searching themselves. They would have a contractor who performs that work for them. And obviously, I'm thinking of many sectors. The government sector, they definitely would have a contractor doing that work, a consultancy firm that they've hired in order to do exactly what we're talking about. It's their value. And that firm is going to do everything possible to include shift whatever's not working. If it's the messaging, the outward facing messaging, I know I'm preaching to a choir, but the outward facing messaging, then they will work on that. If it's their brand look and feel, they're going to do it. But to answer your question, for the most part, the organizations that we're talking about, they're not doing it on their own. They're hiring someone, unless they're so big that they have that component or whatever within their organization.
In-house, like
in-house
media.
Yeah.
So who's writing the check to you? Is it someone like Paul from King Productions?
Yes. It's someone like Paul, because Paul he's funded to do that. He will have and I feel like I'm narrowing, this is almost too narrow, but in many cases, I think it would be a Paul who would be paying, because someone else hired Paul to find Janine.
Yeah. So is a Paul type in the center of our target, or is a brand as a whole the center of our target? Are we appealing to business builders, organizations, marketing departments, and communication VPs? Or are we going out there and looking for production houses that need a steady stream of resources for this kind of work? And again, we could be, where's the ring on the target? It could be here, it could be there, but we have to pick a focus. Who's it for? What's your opinion? Who do you like working with? Do you like working with other audio engineers, sound designers, and video people? Or do you like working... Go ahead.
No, you go, because you're sorry.
Or do you like working with, or do you like when someone comes to you and says, we have a nonprofit, we're doing this thing, what can you be our voice? Which one of those is more appealing to you?
More appealing, so I'll start with that. One-on-one, having someone come to me and say, hey, I would love for you to be my voice for my whatever, if it's a product, if it's a nonprofit, that's great. Sometimes, unless it's like Rebecca Gunter, they really don't know what to expect. They may or may not know how to write the script or what I need to do that for them, which in most cases, working for larger organizations, that's not the case. There are folks that are tooling the language that I will then recite. So I would prefer to work with a Paul, someone who knows the environment, knows what she or he are looking for. And so when they hear it, they'll know it. Otherwise, because I've been in a position where you then are repeating, they're retooling, they're reworking everything. And because it becomes their pet project, because they sought you said yes, and now you're mine. And that's not necessarily done some work in the faith-based area where that's happened. Sorry about that. A lot. And that's that's as nonprofit as you get. Yeah. You put a lot of time, effort into working with someone who thinks they want to work with you, but are not prepared.
That's interesting. So if you had to put a flyer in somebody's hands, would you rather put a flyer in Bread for This City's hands or in Paul King's hands?
Ooh. Dang on you.
That doesn't mean the other one won't be influenced by what you're doing. That doesn't mean you're cutting them off. It just means, how are we going to talk to people?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a Paul King's hand, because the Bread for the City will hire Paul King. They're like, okay, they realize you want an organization that recognizes we need something. We need someone to help us. We need someone. We're going to hire Paul. Then Paul says, here he comes to save the day. I can find that voice for you. And working with Paul, he knows what he's looking for, or Paulette knows what she's looking for.
Good save.
Oh,
Thank you for furthering equality in the business arena.
yeah, I know.
I appreciate that.
It's an interesting question, though.
Yeah, in a perfect world, would you be like, I really only want to work with people who already know what they're doing, the limitations of the equipment or the power of the equipment, the file size, all of that. In a perfect world, I just want to be working with other audio professionals who know the gig, who understand what's at stake here, who can give me the tools I need, who value deadlines. Those are my people.
Yeah.
Versus, let's just say, I don't think you had a chance to work with Lena at Bread for the City, but Lena is the kind of person I can see you also being interested in working with. We're talking about someone who is maverick within an organization, has forward-thinking ideas, understands modern marketing and wants to translate that, and is really making an effort to do things and market their initiatives and their programs in a way that is, again, like modern, effective, dynamic, memorable. You've got kind of like a rogue person within an organization who wants to stop doing things the old way that don't make sense anymore. They want, in your case specifically, like, why on earth would we bring in a Midwestern white person to do a voiceover for a community service that where our constituents are 95% Black? Like, why would we do that? You've got a person who understands the implication of the impact of how they're marketing themselves on their ability to do impact work. Those are two very different people. And again, that doesn't mean that, like, you do work with Paul on some projects and you do work with Lena on others, and you have these kind of retainer clients who get you. But I'd love to know which one of those turns you on more.
Dun, dun, dun. I'll tell you, this is exciting. The Lena that you described, to me, is a similar avatar, if you will, of Paul, because she gets the reasons why. She knows her why. This is why I'm seeking someone, because this is the voice that I feel that communicate to my audience. So Lena's already done that work. She already knows, and she's out to raise the roof, to identify the right person that can speak to her. When you described her as rogue, and I thought I couldn't find the word that I was looking for, but yeah, she's like rogue, but she's being listened to by, or she collaborates with those at the organization, and she's respected. So when Lena says, hey, this is what we need, I know you guys are going down this path, this is what we need, and she knows how to support it, defend it, and then find it, hunt it, bring it home, not necessarily kill it, but she has that ability. And yeah, she would be an ideal client. And yes, you're right. And so would Paul. Paul is more on the technical side, but Lena's more of a visionary, and she's willing to put her sword in the sand to defend that ideal of a voice of, and how to market her product, which is Bread for the City. Yeah. Oh.
Shout out to Lena, who's actually a real person.
I know. Hey, shout out to Lena.
I don't know if she'll ever say this. Yeah, but I think to your avatar, one thing that Lena and Paul have in common is they both do impact work. Paul is very much in the space of higher education, nonprofit. He does also like entrepreneurs who are like transformation focused, so like a gym or something like that. So they share those traits. Do you also want to only be in that bubble of if you're not doing impact work, I'm not interested? Or is that just one place that's rewarding for you to play, but you don't only want to exclusively be there?
The latter. It is a space that it's definitely rewarding to work in that high impact area. It will feel like home, like butter. But there are no limitations. One of my older demos that I recorded just several years ago, literally, it was a Volvo for Volvo. And I didn't get the business. It's just that was my demo. Yeah, I would reach for the stars. Yeah, of course. That that sort of flow in that space, I know that those folks get the reason why. And they understand the reason why, and they're going to seek it out. And I'm using Volvo as an example. So Volvo, if you're listening to this, is no knock on you. Of course, I own one, and loved it for many years, 10 years. But their reason for choosing the voice may have less of the reason why Lena, Paul, or Paulette would choose the voice, perhaps. But it is all who is their audience. So yeah, it doesn't matter as much, but I would feel really good, very comfortable talking through ideas and probably better understanding what they're looking for, because I would know a little bit more about the organization, because I do my own homework and read up on the organization, look at other ads that they've released, and then you get a really good. So I would do the same thing for any car manufacturer. I would do the same thing. What is the look and feel that they've recently released? What are they looking for? And you obviously you try to match it. I would love both spaces, but I know where I would flow, and I think it'll be just easier to communicate.
Who won't you work for?
I will not work for Big Tobacco. I will not work for. It's funny how that just came right off my lips, but I will not do that. Although I know they've made some efforts to shift their focus from teens, but anyway, I won't get into that. Becomes political. But who else won't I work for? That's the first that just comes off the bat.
Guns.
That's an interesting thing because of my background, my background meaning I have spent many of my years in the military space. I don't believe that believe guns are a problem in this country. I can't say I wouldn't take work, but the type of work that I would take, so it's not, wouldn't support those who are rally behind, no, you can't take my guns away from me. I would rather it be an educational, if it's an educational video, or I'm going to say e-learning, but it's another term I'm looking for, to educate families around safeguarding weaponry, or it has to have some social impact. But I wouldn't want to work for Big Romeo Foxtrot Alpha.
Interesting.
Wait, let's see. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. I had to parse that out. So curious, are you really for more the work than you are the people?
The work is important. The people are as well. But decision making, analysis, the why, the placement, how it's going to be used, because that when you are hired, this is an ad for this, that, and the other. I would have to take all that into consideration. But I also know that there are organizations specifically that I would not take work from at all. But if it's an effort,
you don't have to name names. You don't have to name names, but what kind of work is turning you off?
That turns me off? When you mention guns and supporting the lobbyist and others around gun use and the power, or the what do you call it? The right to bear arms, and everyone should have a machine gun, and everyone should have. I would never ever take that work. But if you're talking about it could be a nonprofit that's focused on safeguarding guns in a home, but some educational effort, would have to consider is that something I want to do? Because that still speaks to us. That's a social issue. And in this country, we're not gonna, and I'm sticking to guns for right now. We this is a country, I don't think we're ever going to get rid of them. But what can we do? Because education, awareness, and giving people a reason why they should reconsider either owning one, or how they store it, or how to assess mental health issues in your home and whether or not you should have a gun in your home to reconsider. Those are messages like a PSA that I feel need to be shared. And I would use my voice behind that without a doubt, because I know the benefit. Yeah, absolutely, without a doubt. Hello, Rebecca. I just want to get a video off to you. This is maybe 10, 15 minutes after our discovery session, and you just helped me greatly. I feel great. I just overwhelmed with emotion based on everything that we discussed to get to positioning me as someone who cares about the work that I do, but all the ways that we described and that we discussed. There were things that were uncovered that were truly unexpected, and but it feels good, it feels freeing, and I think I used that word during our session, and that first of all things are possible through God who strengthens us. And it took a lot of strength to try to be as responsive and to be authentic. And that's what I would advise to anyone who goes through this process with Rebecca Gunter. The discovery requires, you can't practice it. You can't rehearse it and think you're going to come up with the right answers, because a lot is very impromptu, but requires us to think so that she can better assess and then to show our value. And often for me, it has been in ways that I never could have described, but the truth is there, and I feel, again, just free, overwhelmed by this joy. I just thank God for the opportunity to work with you on this level. And I'll just stop there, but it feels great, and looking forward to the next session. And I just hope all viewers are getting as much out of these videos as I am. And if you decide that this is a direction you want to take, I will tell you right now, you cannot go wrong. And this is not some, paid. I'm not a paid actress by any means. So I thank you so much. I am a voiceover artist, though. But all of this from my heart. So I hope that you consider, I'm speaking to the audience now, I'm speaking to you. If you have any contemplation, just know that it's real. The process is real, and it's important if you're serious about your business and taking it to, I won't just say, taking it to a new level, but to a level that not only is comfortable, but really reflects who you are. That's what I'm standing in today. That's the truth. So thank you, Rebecca. I hope and pray that you have a wonderful day and weekend. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Just wrapped up the first part of our discovery with Janine, and boy, did things get juicy. I cannot wait to create a unique and viable positioning for her so that she can launch this business with pride. Stay tuned for episode 4, where we'll finish this discovery with the goal of crafting, positioning, and messaging for marketing and to launch this brand with delight. We'll see you next week, Monday, 12:30 Eastern Standard Time, only on 100 TV.